Hello and welcome to On the Kerbs. I'm your host, Thiemo Albers-Daly. Joining me this week is the Turkish rally co-driver Sena. Sena is someone who, like many of us, has been in love with motorsport her entire life. This love has grown over the years and has manifested itself into her career too. An automotive engineer alongside her duties as a rally co-driver, she's also got a keen eye on the driver's seat and much more behind the scenes too. We talked about all of this and much more when we caught up recently, including her brilliant story of her first racing experience. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Hi Sena, thank you very much for being here today. First of all, how are you?
Hi, Timo. I'm brilliant. This is going to my first interview, so I'm excited to do it.
Yeah, well, you told me that just before we started recording. I couldn't believe this is your first one, so thank you for being here and for letting me do this. So, my first question for you then is, it's got to be the obvious question that we start every interview with. What first got you interested in motorsport?
Actually, being in not just in motorsports, being in automotive industry was a childhood dream for me, and it was so natural to follow motorsports. I can say that I followed it with one of my elders. It just happened naturally. No one follows motorsports in my family or around myself. I've just started to found myself watching Formula One, and then rally came, and then how can I say, simulator ones came, and then I just found myself into it when I was at high school.
You
Just
say
I started watching it.
it always starts with one series such as Formula One, but it never ends there. It just keeps going, and you get more and more and more, and it's all over everywhere before you know it.
Yes, but it's natural start with Formula One for everyone.
Definitely a very good choice to start there. You then obviously loved it so much that you wanted to work in motorsport, automotive in some way. You decided to become an automotive engineer, so I'm intrigued why this?
When I was at the end of elementary school, I decided to work in automotive industry, and also, I went to a vocational and technical high school. I'm just not an automotive engineer. I'm also a technician. I graduated from that technical high school. There were four departments, electrical electronics, machine, industrial automation, and engine vehicles technology. Just because I'm interested in, I chose engine vehicles technology. And also, I've completed some internships in variable departments in automotive, such as excavators, loaders, backhoe loaders, automobiles. When I was just 15, 16, I knew how to change a tire. I knew how to change some of the parts in the car. And when I recognized a noise, I knew what could be its origin. How could I repair it? I'm not as qualified as that much. I forgot most of the noises. But as I said, I decided it when I was so little to work in this industry.
It's a little bit like starting with Formula One and then hitting everything else. You chose one thing and then everything else came and you just kept going and kept going and kept going.
Yeah, each minute of my life, my hobbies, my work, my interests, it's always included in automotive. It's just not race cars. It's also, I'm working at Mercedes-Benz trucks. So I knew a little bit also about trucks.
So you never know when all of these things might come in handy and you just know a little bit of everything and it's brilliant that way.
Yes. I just didn't drive race car. I've never driven a race car, but I drove an excavator, an electrical tramway in
Don't know
one
if
of
they do
my
racing in those just yet. That would be interesting.
yes.
You say you weren't a racing driver, but you have been and are at the moment about as close to that as you can get, which is obviously a rally car driver. So I'm not surprised that this happens now that we're hearing more about your background. It seems like the next natural thing for you to have done. But I'm curious, when did this happen? And I feel like I know why you wanted to become a rally car driver, but just in case I'm wrong, why did you also want to become specifically a rally car driver?
This is a story I like to tell about. Um, in, how can I say, 1 or 2 years ago, before that, I was a marshal in motorsports, in rallies, in Formula One. Um, I was the, how can I say, kitchen side of these motorsports. And then Turkish Motorsports Federation came to us and they've announced that there is a training for women to become a co-pilot, co-driver, and then I've attended it. At first, it was a theoretical education, and then the ones who passed the exam had the chance to be a co-driver in a real, how can I say, race pist. And then yeah, I've passed my exams, and then I was the co-driver of Murat Bostancı in my training. And actually, we didn't get the real result. They just observed us. Probably they liked some of those things. And one day, my phone called Beyza Avcıoğlu from Turkish Motorsports women community, called me and said, Senacığım, do you want to become the co-driver of Burcu Çetinkaya? I said, what? Does she want me to become her co-driver? It was the last race of 2024 Istanbul Rally. So we raced with Burcu Çetinkaya. It was my first race. And I really, those days, didn't have the belief of I was going to go for it because it was just a day someone called me. People are trying to get into this. This chance came to my feet. So I'm really appreciate for that. I'm really thanking again Beyza Avcıoğlu and Burcu Çetinkaya again. And then I got 3 trophies. I was young co-pilots those days, also women co-pilots, and we were the third one in our category. In my first race, I've got 3 trophies. And then 2025 season has started. Someone reached me out on Instagram. Everything is network in motorsports. He said, someone is looking for a co-driver. Are you interested in? That was the first time I thought, yes, I think things are getting serious. And then we raced with Alptekin Işıkalp in Marmaris. And also, it is so nice to have these tracks in different cities because I've never been in Muğla before, in Marmaris before, and that race had me to get there. And also, we were the second one, and I was the first one in women co-drivers. And then at the last race, in the last week, Yeşil Bursa Rally, Green Bursa Rally, I raced with Hasan Erdoğan, and I think I will be racing with him in the next races. And it was my third race, so I still can say I'm a rookie, but everything goes all right so far.
And here is just one thing and then just escalates immediately. And before
Yeah.
you know it, you're so deep into this that you don't know how you got there. When you got the phone call for that first race and you got asked, do you want to be the co-driver? Did you believe it, or did you think someone was pranking you? Because, like you say, people work for this for so long, and then suddenly it's just a phone call. Did you have a moment where you went, "This can't be real," or was that not a question for you?
First, no, it was on my contact list. and everything just happened quickly. She sent me Burcu Kaya's number, and then she sent mine to her. And I was just nervous for a second because I didn't know at those times, there was motorsports games in Valencia and Burcu was in there. And then I was nervous. How am I going to call her? What am I going to say her? And thanks God she called me. I told her I don't have any equipment. This is going to my first race. I don't know what to do. Yes, I've got a training. I follow the races, but I don't know how to be a one in this race. She called me down and she supported me all the time. Also, she borrowed me some of her equipments, and then we had a nice breakfast in Ankara, and then we went to Istanbul. She was a great teacher, and I learned so much from her. And also, she borrowed me Fabrizia Pon's pace notes. And she was the co-driver of Rally Queen Misha Mouton. And how can't I be so excited?
Yeah, I mean that's I love the atmosphere, not the atmosphere, the attitude there, where it's just so immediately calming you down, helping you out, going, well, we're working together, we'll figure a way to do this. What do you need? And here we go. Because then once you're sorted, you can help her. All done, sorted that way. And I like that team aspect of it. Going to that first race though, I'm guessing you were nervous, first of all, going into the race. But aside from that, tell me a bit about what that first racing experience was like for you.
Um, I've realized how to read a pace note at my first race because you have to get used to the style of your driver because it depends on driver to driver. For example, Burcu is using left right in English, and some of the drivers use sağ sol as in Turkish, and the level of their turn mindset. For example, six is the sharpest turn for some of the drivers, one is the sharpest for some of the drivers. Before the race, we've studied a little bit of her style, but it didn't, how can I say, it was my first race. It was the first time I was writing pace notes that real. So I knew everything was going to be an experience for me because Buju chose me to train me. And I believe that one day when I've got that experience, I will be training someone to be a co-driver. I will be supporting him or her as an equipment, as a teacher. At my first race, I've just raced to learn, to open my road and the future. And yes, I was so excited. Um, Even I missed some notes somewhere, but with the directives from Burju, we figured everything out. And also at one stage, we spun. Our tire has blued. How can I say? Everything happened in a race, but at the end of the day, yeah, we've got our trophies.
You got there in the end. That's the main thing. I think it's one of those things, isn't it, where like you say you studied the theory, you passed the exam, but theory only takes you so far. You have to then go and do it, then experience it, and as you say, everything happened. So you then were kind of thrown into the deep end, and you had to figure it out. And that is probably the best way to learn. But it must have been very intense. And tell me afterwards, when you were finished with the race, how did you feel then? Were you just super tired and just like, oh, I don't know what to do with any of that now. I'll process that tomorrow, or were you just still kind of full of adrenaline?
When you sit on this seat, it really relaxes your mind because you don't think about your work, your stress, um, your relationship with your friends, your family. You forget everything, and only one thing you think about is just staying alive, not to crash, and just seeing the finish line. So after the race, also you're relaxed a little bit, but just at the last stage, at the very beginning of the race, you're still full of adrenaline. The only relax comes when you see the last stage finish line. Yeah.
So just at the very end, but at least you got there. At least you felt it, and you weren't still nervous towards the end. I think you're right. You forget everything else, but then when you get to the end, you're kind of settled. I want to say, but obviously still very excited, still full of adrenaline. But you're more comfortable with everything that's going on.
Yes, definitely.
Obviously, you say that you're an automotive engineer. You have all of these other things in your background, and you said you don't remember all of the sounds and what would be identified if you heard something and it went wrong. But I'm guessing all that knowledge does help you as a co-driver, and if so, tell us a bit the kind of advantage that it gives you.
Let's say there's a problem in the car, a strange noise comes in, or something happened. Because if you're not in the garage, other people are not allowed to do something on this car. I believe that, yes, as I said, I'm not that qualified that much in the
You have a
previous
lot of
times.
knowledge, though.
If a thing happens, I believe that I can manage the situation. For example, uh, at my second race in Marmaris Rally, um, I don't know how to say it in English, but the front part of our car has fault. Um,
The
the
bumper,
bumper,
maybe?
yeah, the
Yeah,
bumper, yes. I fell down. I just
yeah, that's
repaired
an
it.
issue.
Yeah, we crashed somewhere and just fall down, and I just repaired it to go to the race because I knew it was going to fall completely off, and our radiator will be, how can I say, by itself. And if something comes into it, we may
You'd have
just
bigger issues.
wouldn't be able to finish the race. So I managed the situation in a calm way. And also, if this race car, let's say, is going to be an extra, let's say a team has to take some feedbacks from the car, I believe that I can give them.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that people in the garage always appreciate it when a driver or co-driver are able to give them that extra knowledge because it helps them maybe identify what the issue is if it's not as obvious, if it may be a big issue, but there's smaller issues within that, then if you have that extra bit of knowledge, they can do their job better and they trust you more. The relationship gets better as the team, and that helps everything.
Yes, definitely.
So, from what you've said as well so far, your experience in Turkish motorsport has been pretty supportive on the whole and pretty smooth. But I wanted to know what else, or how else you felt about your experience in motorsport in Turkey so far. What are your observations as a rookie?
Um, there are really tough names in Turkish motorsports, especially racing in junior WRC. I'm not at their levels, I know that, but in my own category, especially as a woman, I'm just trying to inspire women like me, and also young people like me, because it seems like especially in Turkey, if you are raising in Scandinavia, did I spell it
Scandinavia,
correct?
yeah,
Yes.
I knew what you meant
Uh,
there.
people are just doing this as hobbies from the little ages, but in Turkey, I'm not mentioning economical situation, etc. I think it's a little bit because of our family style, because they yeah, motorsports is always dangerous, but there are a lot of security equipments. They just don't want us to race, but there are really dangerous drivers on the road. So I just tell people, you are driving so fast. Why don't you just race? Um, I'm just trying to show them it's possible to find yourself in motorsports.
Yeah, it's an interesting way of dealing with that sort of a problem there. Like you say, you can, instead of racing on the road, go and race properly, and then at least the roads are safer and there's some interesting competition as well. So it works out for both ways.
Yes.
What would you say then? I know that you've only been in this a short time, but maybe there's something from when you were still learning all of the theory and you were still learning as an automotive engineer, maybe something here instead. But what's been the most challenging thing for you to overcome so far, and how did you manage that? You look like there's something
Um,
immediately coming to mind.
Yes, in our last race, we had a serious crash. Nothing happened to us, just a little bit problem in our car. But there was a really sharp turn, and you have to be fully 100%, 200% focused on this race, because if you miss a pace note and didn't, how can I say, guide your driver, anything can happen. And there was a sharp turn. I was just distracted just for a second. And uh, I've read it a little bit late. If I had read this turn, just a second earlier, we may not having this crash. And also there was people, there was a brand car. It was special stage, not the normal stage. And we crashed into them. I was so scared because there were people. I'm not blaming anyone. 80% it was my fault because I was distracted for a second, as I said. But there was also a little bit fault in the organization because everybody knew it was a sharp turn and there were people. Yes, there was a band, not to come for them to the road, uh, but there shouldn't be there. There should be in the safe, somewhere safe. So I was just so scared to hurt anyone. We just checked, is everyone okay? They said yes, and then we just kept going. There was just a little bit problem on our car because our radiator fan was stuck, but we've completed the race. Uh, it was so hard for me because it was my real crash, and it was the first time I've realized how things can be get that serious. And thanks God, nothing happened. And I've learned so much from this crash, and I know that I won't be able to do that mistake again.
Yeah, it only takes, like you say, 1 second, a small mistake, and in motorsport, it can have massive consequences. We're recording on a Thursday just after the Monaco Grand Prix, which is another perfect example of how the smallest mistake and you're done. So yeah, scary for you, but like you say, at least nothing too bad happened. And in terms of learning from that, yeah, you won't make that mistake again because you'll just be so aware of it, I think, in the future that you won't allow yourself to be in that position. You may make other mistakes, I think, as drivers and co-drivers will do. That's just part of it. But I think most of the drivers and co-drivers, they never make the same mistake twice. And I
Yeah.
think this is one that you're definitely not going to do again.
You can take time back, so the best you can do is what to learn from that.
In terms of learning from that and what you're hoping to achieve in the future, what are your plans for the rest of this year? And do you have any big ambitions that you'd like in terms of a dream race in somewhere or anything like that?
For this year, I hope we will be racing with Hasan Erdoğan in the season. But one day I want to sit on this left seat, not in London, in Turkey side, from the left seat. And then one day I want to race in WRC as a woman, as a co-driver. I hope so.
So it seems only natural that you'd want to try out the driving seat at some point. You've done everything else up to this point that would make that the next natural thing for you. So I'm not surprised really there. And yeah, co-driver in WRC that would be quite something. And you're on the right path for it. Like you say, you're where you are now, the experience you can see the junior WRC drivers, and obviously from there you get into the main thing. So the straightforward, maybe not easy. I've got a couple of fun questions then just to finish off that have nothing to do with motorsport. What's your favourite film?
Oh, um,
Trickiest
I'm
question so
also
far.
like out of Fast and Furious. I love psychological and thriller movies. I think my favorite movie is The Prestige. I like the movies which shocks me at the end of it and confuses
That
my
one definitely
mind.
does that.
Yes, exactly. And
That's a
also
good choice.
yeah, it is. Also, I love Ford versus Ferrari,
Bring it back to
obviously.
motorsport, yeah, yeah, you have to, yeah. No, I can't fault that either. That's one of the best ones I think for motorsport. Never mind film in general. But I get that one sometimes. I don't think I've ever had the prestige as an answer before, but I approve. It's a very good film. And my last question then, if you could choose to talk with one species of animal, what would it be and why?
I think it would be a wolf. It has two reasons. Wolf has a specific place in Turkish history. And also, I don't know if you ever heard the book Women Run with the Wolves. Um,
I
it's
think
it has a
yes.
symbol for women. It's the wild side inside of them and the independent side. It symbolizes a wolf. So that's why I would be a wolf, definitely.
Goes well with the racing as well. You know, the speed, the independence, the pack, but the independent as well. There's a lot of kind of similarities I can see there for you.
I wouldn't say cheetah, but when I was a Twilight fan, I also supported Jacob.
This makes sense. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. I want to thank you very much for your time and wish you the best of luck with everything for the rest of the year. I'm looking forward to seeing what you get up to.
It was also a pleasure for me to interview with you as well, and thank you for your valuable questions. And I hope everything goes well for you too as well in this interview thing.
Thank you again to Sena for taking the time to chat. Wishing you the best of luck for the rest of 2025 and beyond. If you want to follow Sena's career, follow her on Instagram at RREANES. Further details, as well as to find more of me, can be found in the description of this episode. In the meantime, I'll be back soon with another interview with someone from the world of motorsport. Until then, thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.